Good evening, and thank you for joining us. This is me, Miss Rhonda B. And once again, you're joining us for the Rhonda B Show. And as always, I have a very exciting guest. And when we have authors on, there's always a twofold conversation that I like to take place. One is their message, because they wrote a book, and they're going to tell us what it is that they think is so important. But the other thing is, how did they go about writing the book and get it published? Because, you know, my goal is always to educate, motivate, and inform others on how they, too, can become their best self. So everybody out there have a story to tell and a song to sing. And so hopefully when the authors come on, they share with us how they got from thought to vision to print. And so today we have a gentleman, his name is Mr. Dion Harding. Mr. Harding, thank you for joining us. Okay, great.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, no problem, my pleasure. So he has a book here, it's called Leadership the Book. Lessons Learned Through the Eyes of a Child. So as you read the book, then basically what he does is take us back mentally for some of the things that we encounter in our everyday life, and how he has discovered that the very essence of the lesson, if he stopped to think about it, he already knew that. You know, something as simple as being polite to others. His mom taught him that long before preschool. Once he went to preschool, he was taught. In kindergarten, that's a major part of that year, is learning how to interact with others and become socially mature, you know, so that they can move you on to first grade another year. And that's just a small example, because he gave that, and then you sit back and say, that is true. You know, you're thinking it's something that you learned as a young adult or something like that, but you learned it long before you started getting scolded for it. By the time you're a teenager, they're telling you that you didn't adhere to the lesson. And so then, as he said, as he went into adulthood, a lot of missteps he took, and as he learned the lesson or recalled the lesson, it's like, oh, I know better than that because I learned it at an early stage. So that's my synopsis from reading the book. But I'm going to allow him to introduce himself and then tell us exactly what he was trying to tell us from the book and what led up to the story.
Okay. Well, Rhonda, I want to thank you for reading the book, and I definitely want to thank you for that excellent synopsis as well. As you can say, everything in the book is very positive, because that's something I believe in. I don't know if I mentioned this before, but I do motivational speaking. And one time I sat down to prepare a speech for a group of local Chicago entrepreneurs. And they wanted me to talk about starting, selling, and marketing your business. And I was able to relate those steps to a trip we took as a family as a child. And the more I thought about it, everything we need in business, in our professional lives, and in leadership, we actually learned as children. And some people say, well, your lifestyle was different from mine. Your upbringing was different from mine. But there's a lesson in everybody's life, no matter how good, no matter how bad, no matter how easy, no matter how difficult. We have to take advantage of the things that we have learned in life. And there's a lesson in everything. I don't believe things just happen. I don't believe in luck. I believe we make our own luck through hard work. And so what I did is, after I gave that speech, I came home and wrote down each lesson that I learned in my life. And each one of those lessons became titles of chapters for the book.
Oh, okay.
And then what I did is I went on to expound upon what I learned from each of those lessons. And it wasn't just from my parents. The majority were from my parents. But they were also from my friends, from relatives, from coaches, from teachers, from strange happenings that happened in my life. And we put that together, made an outline, and it came out to a book.
Okay. Because I'm a firm believer myself that everything that happens to us in our life is either a lesson or a blessing. And it's up to us to determine which one and grow from it. Because either way, we're going to benefit.
We're going to benefit.
Yeah. Whether it's bad, or perceived to be bad, or if it was something good, there's a growth. So I agree with your comment that things don't happen just by happenstance.
Correct.
Yeah, this was the path that you were destined to take for whatever reason, and then what did you get out of it?
Correct. Correct.
So so tell us a little bit about your motivational speaking. So you go out to organizations and try to help them bring their best selves out in their sales organization, their company, or...
You're exactly right. And it goes back even further than that. Because if you're going to be a speaker, if you're going to try to lead seminars, maybe try to teach someone something, to set an example for someone, it has to come from within. It has to be sincere. It has to come from internal belief in yourself and believing the things that you're talking about. It's easy to get in front of a camera and smile and say, this is what we should do. But the talks that I give are very easy because it's the life that I live. And I've learned that if you internalize it and you live the life that you talk about, it's easier and it's believable. Because if you're not sincere, people will see it so quickly.
Now give us your foundation now. Are you here from the Chicago area?
Yes, yes. And the foundation, I'm originally from Gary, Indiana. When I graduated from Florida A&M University School of Business and Industry, I came back to Gary, Indiana. I started working with a large pharmaceutical corporation. But I wanted to give back to something in my community. So I did a couple things. One, I went back to my elementary school, junior high school, and high school, and started speaking to the students. My parents were 42-year veterans of the Gary Community School System. So they got me started speaking at the schools where they were working, and then other schools. And more people found out. It seemed as though they liked the message, and I was called on to speak more. In the meantime, I was trying to rebuild that city. I had a restaurant, had a multi-service car wash complex, and when I finished with those businesses, I found that what I've been doing for free all the time, the things that I truly believed in, people were getting paid to do. And that's when I formed this business, and it's called To Be Inspired. Yeah, and because that's what we do, inspire.
Now, your undergrad is in what?
My undergraduate degree is in business administration.
Business administration.
And I did an MBA in marketing, both from Florida A&M University.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, cool. And then currently, do you only do your motivational speaking, or do you still have your other business ventures?
I still do pharmaceutical consulting.
Okay.
And as a salesperson, but also I do motivational speaking. And as of course you can see, we've authored a book and actually working on the second book as we speak.
Oh, good. Now, do you do mentoring? Are you into schools? Or you do outreach to young people?
What you're talking about is how I started. I started off mentoring to youth.
Right.
Because I saw a lot of our younger brothers and sisters definitely needed some guidance. Things had changed. People stopped admiring the professional people in the area and started admiring people that were doing things that were maybe not so correct, things that could get them in trouble. They were looking at short-term instead of long-term. I took it upon myself to show people something different. That's how I started speaking. That's what led us to the book. But then I've expanded that as well. Now it's to the point where I've used my 18 years of sales experience that I've learned in corporate America to bring that out into sales seminars, leadership training, management development.
Now, is your book self-published, or did you have a publishing company?
Very good question, Rhonda. This is a self-published book.
Okay. So you took your marketing education and obviously your business skill, and then said, now, do you just publish for yourself, or are you a publishing company?
You have a camera in my house. Because you're asking all the right questions. You're right. I took the things I learned from marketing, and also took a lot of things I learned in background from life, put them into the book. But then also, I had a speaking coach, Mr. James Dentley. He taught me a lot. And then there was another gentleman out in California named Kevin Bracey that holds seminars for speakers. I met a lot of people at his seminars. I learned how to improve my speaking. But also, on top of that, I learned how to self-publish a book. First, of course, you have to write it.
That helps.
And then once you've written a book, you want to write it and rewrite it and make sure it's correct. Then you want to take 10 copies and give them to people that you respect. Not people that are just going to say everything you do is good, but people that will tell you the truth about your work and see what they think. And also they will find some corrections that need to be made. It's nothing like another set of eyes. Once that's done and you think you have your final piece, then we need to find a professional editor. An editor that can give your work that polish. Because everyone has good ideas, but we may not have that polish that people like to see in the reading. Gave it to an editor, a gentleman named Mr. Walter Perkins. He gave it back to me, made corrections, and I told him, I've seen editors.
Walter Perkins, is he from Indiana?
No, he's from Illinois.
Okay.
He lives in Olympia Fields.
Okay.
As a matter of fact, after we talked, and I told him that I actually want my message to be heard. And he said, okay, I'll make it my job to help you do that. Because sometimes I've written things, and I gave it to a reader, and they said, no, that's not so clear. So he gave it back to me. I made some corrections and changes that he suggested, gave it back to him again. And then we did a final walkthrough, changed it again, and then we were done with the editing. Then, of course, we sent it to the Library of Congress to get the copyright. We found a printer, and then we went to the self-publishing. And then, as a matter of fact...
You got your ISBN number?
Yes, ISBN number is correct. We had to send off for those. As a matter of fact, they even attended one time just to make sure. Also, there was a gentleman named, also a great speaker, gentleman named Mr. Mac McGee. He's in this area, and he had a night of inspiration. And I was speaking at his night of inspiration that night, and that was my first night selling that book.
Okay.
And thank God we've been doing rather well ever since.
Oh, good. Okay. Now, do you have any plans to publish for others, or is this going to be just you and your work?
That could be down the line, you know, when you look at different revenue streams or looking at helping people in different ways. Right now, I'm thinking twice about self-publishing. I've been reading a lot lately about actually going, not doing self-publishing, but going to a publisher. So I may try that this time. So what I can go back and say, hey, look what I've done on my own, with my own marketing, without a publishing company behind me. Imagine what we can do with our new ideas and new books.
That's good confidence in yourself. Okay, so what are your message to other people? What are some of the things that you would like to, you know, because you know what I've noticed from interviewing, it's not like everybody with the book, but what I've noticed from interviewing different people is that everybody has a story to tell or a song to sing.
That's right.
Some people have such a great story, but in no way do they know how to get it on print.
That's a good
And
point.
then other people, their story's not so great, and it's in print because they had the $2 to put it together. So, you know, so there's, and then there's all these people in between.
Okay.
You know, so because there are so many, I'm a big history buff. I love our history. You know, I love the fact that God sent me here black, I guess because I don't know the other choice. And then I love, with the exception of the fact that we originated as slaves, but the fact that we were once slaves and then all of what our ancestors did for us to be free to sit here today.
Okay.
All of that's very inspiring to me.
Okay.
So I meet a lot of elderly people, and they just have such great story, but they would never see the wisdom of putting it in print.
Okay.
And so, you know, then you see a young person like yourself who comes and has so much energy and so many bright ideas. So it's like I'm just wondering if you run across people, it's like, that's a good story. Let me help put your message into a motivational piece. But there are so many. I mean, and then some of them are now leaving, you know, like Lena Horne's passed. A lot of our, you know, past success stories have passed on. Ministers, there's this minister in Chicago, Reverend Al Sampson.
Okay.
You know, and I just personally feel he should write a book.
Okay.
You know,
okay.
I tell him that all the time. And it's just, you know, he's getting older, he has a church, and it's just, you know, and it's so many, and he's just one that comes to mind because I tell him all the time. But then there's other people. There's politicians, you know, those who were in the arena, you know, someone like Paul Simon, who was a politician for years, got out of it. What are his stories?
Okay.
You know, what is his story?
Okay.
And I'm not saying reach out to nobody that far. I'm talking about small stuff to try to, like you were in the school. See, you're only one person. How do you duplicate yourself to get the message out to our young people that, you know, God sent you here with all the greatness in the world. And it's inside of you. And then how do those of us on the outside help you recognize it and bring it forward?
Okay.
You know? So I'm sure, like you say, you've already doing that, but it's just you. You're just one person.
Okay.
So, you know, how do you duplicate yourself so that other people can go out and help you deliver the message, a positive message?
Okay. Okay. I think I heard you say a couple of things there. First of all, the first thing you asked me, what is my message? What type of message do I have? I have two types of messages. One is for young adults, probably people finishing high school, thinking about going to college, maybe finishing college, going to start a career, start a business. My thing is, learn as much as you can now. Be the best student, be the best absorber of knowledge that you can now, so you give yourself choices. Too many of us have seen people come before us just take welfare and have to take what someone gives us. We don't have a choice of where we live. We have to go where they tell us. But if we're the best student that we can be, if we learn as much as we can, and be the best people that we can be, and have faith and belief, then that's power. Because we have choices. I give a talk about the three P's. You have to have a plan. You have to have a purpose. And then that's when you have your power. And if you have power from up above, now we have choices to live where we want to live, to take the job that we want in life, to have the career that we want, to start the business that we want, not just what someone gives us. That's my message to the younger people.
That's a good message.
Well, thank you very much.
And you know what? And it's so basic, but it's so real. Choices.
Choices.
Because I was just recently a second ago interviewing a gentleman who's running for political office.
Okay.
And so his thing is about our educational system. But that's actually a good foundation for what he was mentioning is about how our school system is failing our children.
Okay.
But our kids are so not motivated to even be in school.
Okay.
And the system keeps treating everything as if the kids are so not intellectually capable.
Okay.
And I totally disagree with that. I just think something as simple as someone coming along telling them that the reason why you're in school is not immediate, is not today, is not even significant to what you're getting ready to do after school.
Right.
But it gives you choices tomorrow.
That's right.
And that's
right.
so basic, but so, and then the kids could probably
That's
relate
right.
to that.
Right.
Because right now, we're trying to tell them the significance of math and algebra and chemistry. It doesn't mean anything to them.
Definitely have choices, and that reminds me of something. We had a talk over at Rich Central, worked with the principal over there, excellent guy named Maceo Rainey, and he was looking to motivate his students to do extremely well on the Prairie State standardized testing exam. And that's something we talk about. You know, people don't wonder why I have to do well in math and reading and writing. Maybe I'm not going into a career that has that, but actually all careers can use that. This is just a stepping stone that's unique. But the better those students do on that test, the better chance they have of a choice or where they go to college. So exactly, it's all back to choices. Right, that's one message.
And not only that, that if you applied yourself and you do well, then that's giving you the confidence that you can do well.
Exactly.
So therefore, then you are not hesitant about embarking upon future whatever.
You are exactly
And
right.
another thing I like about your message is giving the choice of having a vocation versus an application.
Okay.
Because if you do not prepare yourself, then you're going to end up on a job. But if you prepare yourself, then you could end up pursuing what it is that you're interested in.
Okay.
So that's a very significant message to our young people, I think.
And I thank you. You give me more ideas as well. And that's the message to the younger people. The message I have to people in general is something that's written about in this book. If you notice, I have a chapter in this book that says, "You see how smart you are?" My mother was an elementary school teacher, and when she raised us as children, there was no thing as the summer off, time to play. No, that meant time for lessons, and those were lessons that my mother taught us, having us prepared for the following year. And every day before we left out, she would say, "Time for lessons." We thought we grabbed that door and were about to take off on a sunny day. She'd say, "Time for lessons." And we was like, "Oh, Mom, do we have to?" Those lessons kept us going. They kept our minds sharp and bright and prepared for the next
And
year.
how many is in your family?
2 boys.
Oh,
My
just
brother
2
and I.
boys?
As a matter of
Okay.
fact, my brother has done extremely well. He's a lawyer.
Oh, okay.
He works with Jimmy Block downtown,
okay.
and he's doing extremely well.
Okay.
So anyway,
So she set a good foundation.
both of my parents,
Okay.
both of my parents set a great foundation, and I'm thankful to God for that. The thing is, the message to all people, not just the young people, but mature people as well, is be as positive as you can be. Because that chapter that says time for lessons, you see how smart you are? What she used to do is if we ever got stuck, say we're working math, I said, "Mom, I'm stuck." So I'm looking for her to just come help work the problem for me. No. She would take me through step by step and let me realize what I was doing wrong and let me realize how I needed to work that problem properly myself. Each time I got a little closer, and a little closer. When I finally got it correct, she would point and say, "You see how smart you are? You see how smart you are?" And I would jump up just exhilarated because she made me feel so good. From one, she let me figure it out myself, and 2, it was that positive energy, that positive feedback that she gave back to me, took me to another level. And so therefore, my thing is, for adults, as leaders, as parents, whatever position we're in, we have to be as positive as we can be to get the best out of our people. And if we talk about the good things that they're doing, more so than the bad, we'll get more out of our employees, more out of our children, more out of our coworkers, more out of our teammates. That's my message to adults.
And what you have taken away all these years, even though it's on a subconscious level, is the thrill of her giving you the attaboy.
Yes.
Not
yes,
even necessarily
yes.
the problem that you learn, because the problem that you learn is just a step in multiple steps.
Yes,
Because in math,
yes.
that's only, each step leads to something else.
Correct.
You don't even remember what you learned that day, but you remember the feel. So that goes in your message that I feel that you give it to the young, to people, period, like you said, is if they become good at what they do, it's a building block to whatever it is that they're going to end up doing.
Exactly right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Because in school, the message is that you need to go to school, you need to do well, and if you don't, we're going to fail you. So many, to me, conventional wisdom says the children has already said, okay, if I don't do well, you're going to fail me. Okay. So then now with adults, we're stuck here with, okay, now what do we do?
Okay.
Because the children have already said, okay. You know? But in
Right.
order for them to be better tomorrow, there's somebody, some of us, one of us, you, have to get in there and continue the message that it's not about getting the education, it's about you.
Positive reinforcement.
Yeah, it's about you. Because if you, whether you get the education or not, that if you recognize that you're, what you said? She said you see how smart you are.
You see how smart
So
you
if
are.
you get that message of that you see how smart you are, then they don't have the hesitation to pursue what it is they're trying to pursue.
Right.
And in third grade, you're not trying to pursue anything major, but you need to try.
One
You
step
need
at a
to,
time.
right, and you need to recognize that just because you did not accomplish it the first time, you're still smart.
That's
And
right.
then you need to keep trying. You keep trying, and then the recognition comes. See, I knew you could do it.
That's
You
right.
just need to know.
That's right.
You know?
You're exactly right.
And we can't do it for, you can't do it for our young people. We have to motivate them and educate them and inform them that it's within them.
To
It's
be
like when
inspired.
you're, do you have small children?
Yes.
When your
Yes.
children are trying to learn how to walk, no matter how many times they fail, and of course as a parent, you would want to grab them to keep them from falling. But the reality is, if you did not ever allow them to fall, they would never be able to walk today.
You know, Rhonda, we're on the same page. That talk we talked about before, Night of Inspiration, I talked about how we need to go back to being like a small child, where it's exciting to learn to walk. And no matter how many times my son failed, he never said, oh, it hurt too much, I'm not going to try again. He never said, I'm going to give up because I failed once. He failed, and he fell again. But he never stopped trying and never got frustrated.
And now
That's what we need to do as adults. Get back to dreaming. Get back to believing. Get back to saying, it doesn't matter how many times I fail. Failure is only the education that we pay for to learn to do better next time.
And you know what? And the thrill that you may have forgotten too as a parent with your young child is initially when they started trying to walk and fail, your instinct is to protect them so that they would not fall. Even if you prevented them from trying to walk. But they were so excited about that one step that you forgot about protecting them because you became excited with them. You know?
Well, I try to do it the way you said it. I try to stand back and just let them enjoy. You know, we have soft carpet so you can fall.
Yeah, you can fall. And so, yeah, and the children teach us that reality.
Right.
Because every time a child, because in my mom's house, you know, there's always kids over there.
Okay.
You know, if you have a baby, you get tired, don't drop them up in my mother's
Drop them
house.
there.
Okay, so anyway, so they're always walking, they're trying to go up the stairs and all that kind of, you know, my mom, you know, she didn't, like on her fourth generation of children.
Okay.
So she for sure know by now to tell you, you need to let that one go.
Okay.
You know, because the legs got it. You know, like you said, the carpet got it, the pamper got the cushion, and those legs can handle it.
Okay.
So let it
Okay.
go. But then you end up seeing the child take that one step and just barrel, and then they fall. And then you reach for them. That child is so happy they took that one step that now you're happy they took that one step.
Okay.
And then what do? You clap for them and encourage them. So now you step back a little bit as a parent and to help them get them room to take two steps. You could do it, you could do it. So now that child recognizes, oh, not only am I accomplishing something, I'm pleasing someone. And so then they take two steps. And then we clap for them.
Okay.
But then it gets lost.
Okay.
You know, then we send them to school, and then the school says, well, Johnny, if you don't learn your ABCs, I'm going to give you an F. Then Johnny says, okay. You give me an F, but we forgot. We still want you to learn your ABCs. It's
Okay.
not okay that you get that the F or A. You still need to learn your ABC.
Okay.
So the message is in the middle somewhere.
Okay.
You
Okay.
know, which you, I think, delivers it well.
Okay. Well, thank you. Thank you very much.
Delivers it well. So now, your book is called Leadership the Book, Lessons Learned Through the Eyes of a Child.
Yes.
And so our time is coming to a close. Sort of like that, yeah. As we bring this to a conclusion, I want to first of all thank you for your time.
Thank you for having me.
And I really appreciate it, and you get me all excited because I love a positive message.
Thank you.
There's so many positive stories in this book that there's no way in a short 30-minute interview we can introduce the public to them all, but we can introduce them to the book, which is called Leadership, the Book. Lessons Learned Through the Eyes of a Child by Dion Harding. Is that how you say your name?
Correct.
Okay, now do you have, now are these books in the store?
No, not in most stores. You can buy them online, www.dionharding.com, D-I-O-N, Harding.
Okay, and then you have here a law professor, what is this, law professor Ronald Sullivan Jr.?
From Harvard.
From
yes.
Harvard, that's what my question was, because he got it all there together. So he's actually a law professor from Harvard?
Correct.
Okay, so he said, Dion Harding writes a moving, thoughtful, and helpful book on leadership. While most of us merely intuit that early lessons in life inform us as what to do as adults, Harding maps the vivid detail of how his parents equipped him with moral, academic, and life skills to navigate through business and the world as an adult. So obviously there's something in here that he felt that brought that point home.
Yes.
So if there's
yes.
some, did you talk to him about this? Is there a particular story?
It's interesting to hear you say that because that gentleman actually is a gentleman that's a good friend of mine. I've known him since I was a child. And so we're really proud of him. Gary, Indiana product, who went on to Morehouse College, valedictorian, went on to Harvard Law School, did his JD. He taught at Yale for a while, and now he's back at Harvard as a law professor. And he's doing extremely well, and I was glad that he agreed to blog the book, and he read the book and enjoyed some of the lessons. One particular lesson that we talk about is something that we're facing now as an adult, because that's the whole purpose of the book, is to look at these lessons we learned as children. Look at your own life, not just mine. Look at your own life, and use those lessons we learned in your lives to help you professionally as an adult now, and with your own children. So one particular lesson we talked about was when I was playing Little League Baseball. And our team won consistently. Fortunately, my father was a coach, and he always knew how to pick a good team. He was a great motivator. He knew how to gel those personalities together. And we're playing Little League Baseball. And we won every game in here. And we're in our championship game against our most heated rival. I mean, they hated us because we won all the time. We weren't arrogant, we didn't brag, we just won. So, of course, they wanted to knock us off. So we used up all our pitchers. And we had to use some people who never pitched before. They pitched a perfect game. And then my time came to bat. And we faced tough defenses all year long. People hate by the swing, call you different names, what have you. But all professionalism, all teamwork, all honesty had gone out the door. I mean, this was bad. They were yelling curse words. They were talking about my family. They were talking about me personally. And I was 9 years old. I mean, I felt the whole gamut of emotions. First, I felt anger. I wanted to go out and charge the mound. Fear. I was wondering, could I perform under this type of pressure? And then finally, sadness, because it hurt by the things that they were saying. And then my mother's words kicked in. If you're good, you don't have to say anything. People will know. When that happened, I choked up on that bat, tighter, more confident than ever before. On that first pitch, it seemed like everything went into slow motion. It seemed as though it took 30 minutes for that ball to leave his hand and get to that plate. Everything was around. I had a laser-like focus. On the first pitch, crack, knocked it out of the park. That day at the field reminds me of the type of things that we're going through now. People lost jobs. Will I be able to get another job? So they have the fear. Anger. Friends of mine have been laid off. Sadness. I'm not able to do all the things I was able to do before because of the economy. I have less money. But it's two things. We have to make a choice. Do we face that fear? Do we use it as energy like we did that day at the baseball field? Or do we just go run and hide and feel sorry for ourselves? That's not something we do. Those are the type of lessons that we have to learn. Those are the type of things I try to encourage people about when we speak and in this book. Lessons learned through the eyes of a child. Exactly.
And Mr. Dion, I thank you for your time, and I appreciate you coming out and sharing your story. Okay.